Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Um, Today I'm going talking about the mandatory vaccination or individual freedoms. I would like to ask to everyone, what do you think about the why do we get vaccinated? I would like that in this moment you're thinking about these questions. So, and the mandatory vaccinations are individual freedom and is one of the most delicate and the current debates in the field of public health. And it is a conflict between two fundamental principles, the collective protection of health and the health and the individual right to decide about the one of body. This dilemma has taken on greater strength. For example, issues as the COVID-19 pandemic, and in another hand, the prevention is of diseases, issues as febre amarilla, uh, where many governments have required the vaccination as a health control measures. But for example, like currently here in Ibaguela, I'm living here currently, we are on the red alert with the outbreak, the fiebre amarilla. However, this question for me is important. So, why are we forced to get vaccinated? Okay. From public health and the mandatory vaccinations are not impossible to completely eliminate the disease immediately, is ultimately, but to reduce in the spread and protect the most vulnerable and prevent collectives and health systems, often vaccinating does not warrant absolutely the immunity or total elimination of the risk of death. It does significantly decrease. The first is the possibility of and the contagio and the possibility of the severity of the disease and the overall mortality rate. So, for example, in the case of COVID-19, for example, vaccination is helping to reduce the numbers of the several hospitalizations. Even though the virus continued to circulating, so people continue to die. But the same goes for the fever amarilla. The vaccine does not eradicate the acid in the world, but it does prevent massive outbreak in high risk regions. Sometimes we don't understand why we're forced to get vaccinated. In another hand, there is a right to individual autonomy, that is freedom of each person to decide whether or not accept the medical, for example, treatments. There is also the principle of collective responsibility, which holds that our individual decision can, uh, can affect the living of others. Although vaccination, vaccination was presented as a personal decision, and in practice, many people did not feel that they had the freedom. So the public and provide companies, educational institutions, and government require the vaccination card, as a requirement. to work or study or travel. In many cases, those who refuse to get the vaccination were further. The situation led me at these questions. The first question: why, in fact, in the company where I am gains my will, and because I saw that the passionate did not work well with many company around me, then I come to ask myself. Includes I have think includes I think that were we part of an experiment, and the speed with which and the COVID-19 vaccines were developed and approved. All those scientific process were accelerated by the global urgency. And many vaccines went through clinical trials. There are those fulfills that the population service as a testing ground for the new technologies. Um, and the next question for me is, you may ask why. You may ask, why are we forced to get vaccinated if the people are still dying? And okay. It's important to clarify that the vaccine is no 100% effective. It's obviously now, but its function is not completely eliminate the risk, but to reduce the likelihood of the several diseases and death. For example, in the case of the COVID-19 or include the febre amarilla, vaccine has been shown to lessen the burden our health system and as vulnerable the vulnerable people. The fact that there are things, even with vaccines that's not, and I mean the vaccinations are useless, it's mean that the risk still exists, but is lowered. Mandatory vaccination is a performed ethical claims. It's an individual freedoms again, collective responsibility. In addition, the way in which the measures are applied with the confidence of the population. And in for final, the resolution is not obligates, but to inform, educate, and generate through because the public health should be built with fair, but with awareness and respect. Was a good topic because it's a little debate because in my case, for example, I think there is will be mandatory or will be a freedom. For that reason, I would like to I don't know, everyone asking me, like, why do we get passionate? And if you want to ask me something,
Okay, yes, classmate. I do have a question for you. Do you think mandatory vaccination, like mandatory when a person doesn't want to vaccinate, but do you think that mandatory vaccination can either be justified or should personal freedom always come first, even during a